Hey everybody, for those of you that don't know, my name is Michael Forrest and it's go time. Now before we get going, I'm going to ask if everybody can stay off of this stage here. This way nobody blocks the display and gives me a little bit of room to move around through the whole presenting thing. Now if I can direct your attention to the menu wheel in your lower left, you're going to notice at the very top of this menu wheel is a microphone icon. If that microphone icon is clear, that means that we can hear everything happening in your environment. So, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to turn this to red. See, it's already been done. So let's see. Now, when your microphone icon is red, that means you're muted and we can't hear what's happening in your environment. So you'll avoid social ruin back at the campfire. If you have like a dog in the background that starts barking, you won't become known as the avatar that suddenly started barking during its go time. Now, just because you're muted doesn't mean you can't express yourself. You're going to notice that you have this pink cheeked smiley face in your menu wheel. When you press on that, your emoji panel opens up in front of you. It gives you a wide variety of options with which to express yourself. If I say something deep and meaningful here and you feel it building up inside, and it just starts building up, you could just let it out, let it flow, just like that, right? Maybe some backup dancers come out behind me, right? And we break in the Go Time the musical and you're very impressed. You could throw up the applause that I live for. I can take a moment to drink those in. If I ask you all a yes or no question, you can say yes by smiling like this, or you can say no by frowning like that. If I do something funny, you want to show me that you found it funny and you want to like laugh, you can do the silly emoji right here like that. Now, this raise hand button is a little bit confusing. Some people think this is how you ask a question. It's not. This is how you get my attention if something goes wrong. Like, for example, maybe suddenly you can't hear me and I'm just waving my hands around. You're like, oh, it looks like that guy's talking, but he's really not. No sound's coming out, and you got to let me know. That's a good way to do it. Or maybe the display behind me is caught in, burst into flame suddenly. That can happen because, our moderators have a sense of humor, and they did that to me once. I saw the audience, I saw the light reflecting off the audience, and I'm going, what is going on here? And I look behind me, and, the screen's on fire. So, yeah, and that was a good way to let me know. I was seeing these hands pop up, trying to get my attention. That's a good way to do that. Now, if you actually do want to ask a question, we will be taking questions at the end, and you're going to see a raise hand button appear at the end, and we'll take that then. There's also an X in the middle of this panel that'll close the emoji panel, but it's a good idea to leave this open during events like this because, for one, it lets me know how I'm doing up here, and for two, it can, it's good to let the people around you know what you're experiencing. So the person next to you goes like this. That means they found something that happened funny, and you may not agree. You might be like, oh, that's not funny at all. And I'm going to go stand over here. And you can totally do that because, this is VR. You can totally do things like that. All right, now, this event is for Oculus Go users, but all are welcome. So if you're on another device, feel free to hang. You may pick up some useful information that helps out, a Go user in Altspace, because in Altspace, there are a tremendous amount of Go users, and they're coming in all the time. So we can talk about whether or not, your Oculus room is always a mess, or maybe the Wander app isn't taking you to all the places you dreamed of, but we're specifically going to be addressing how these devices perform in Altspace, because there are some problems being on a Go in Altspace, some challenges. And speaking of challenges, I've been in bed for about the past year and a half or so due to a medical condition. And so when my Go came, I was like super excited. And I still remember, do you guys remember when you first put on that headset, that feeling of being taken to another place, to another reality, feeling like you were somewhere else entirely? Really great feeling. The first time I put that on, and I've been reading about Altspace for a while. So when I came, this was my first stop. I come out of the load screen, and the very first thing I did in Altspace was I looked up. And I looked up at the sky, and the sky looked a lot like what I remember it looking like, right? And I was very grateful for this. I was so grateful I started volunteering straight away that same day, actually. And when I went to the events to volunteer, I'd have to help out as a moderator. I found that my headset battery would run out before the event was even over. And, then I'd have to charge up. I'd come back into Altspace, and I would look desperately for the event host, see if I could track them down, and apologize for, not making it all the way through. And I was like, well, I got to do something to make this more reliable. So I started asking a lot of questions, and I started to hear things like, I heard, for example, that I wouldn't be able to use this laser pointer on an Oculus Go. And you know what? That turned out to not be true. I also heard that I wouldn't be able to work these slides up here, right? And that turned out to not be true. I was also told that despite having a background in presenting material like this we're doing today, that I wouldn't be able to do this on an Oculus Go because my device wasn't reliable enough. That also turned out to not be true. And all these things together told me that there was a huge disconnect between, the reality of what it's actually like to be on an Oculus Go versus the perception of what people thought it was like to be on a Go. Those things don't necessarily line up. That being said, doesn't mean there aren't problems. There absolutely are. But many of these problems are solvable, or at the very least, at least manageable. All right. And there's two routes you can take. You can work with the device that you already have on your head. We're going to do some stuff here today that's going to improve your performance. Or you can upgrade your experience to exceed the limitations of your device. And those of you that have been here before know I can't stand this term, because listen, if every single day somebody tells you, hey, I don't like your shirt. Hey, I don't like your shirt. And they tell you this every day, eventually you're going to get to a point where, you're going to start thinking, well, it's not the shirt they don't like. It's not thinking it's me, right? So it's important to keep in mind that you're not your device any more than you are your house or your car, right? That the device is just a vehicle that brings you into Altspace. Because you know what? There's another word that gets tossed around Altspace an awful lot, and that's community. And you, the individual, make up the community, not what device you're using. All right, so try to remember that if you hear terms like, limitation of the device, or if you hear like weaker device, or if you hear anything like that, because the Oculus Go is a really great entry point into VR. All right, not having to worry about the up and down vertical motion of 6-off actually has advantages. It can make you feel more steady, right? And it can allow you to get your VR legs, at your own pace, in your own time. And then if you find it's something that, is good for you, then you're enjoying it, then you can, upgrade your equipment or change your equipment out however you need to. But it's a really great starting point for VR. Actually, if I started out on the Quest, I don't think I would have stayed. Right? I did start out on the Go. I was on a Go for about 10 months. And during those 10 months, I learned how to solve some of these issues. And let's take a look at what approaches you can take. All right, now, it's important to realize that your device will lose power even when it's not in use. So, maybe at nighttime you put it down on a table and it has 100% battery power. Well, by morning, it's going to have a much smaller, it's going to have a reduced rate of charge. And that's actually going to affect your device's performance. If you come into Altspace and you only have 20% battery power, you're going to notice that your screen is going to flicker a little bit, right? So it's your job basically to make sure that you're going to be as close to 100% power at all times, right? So if you think, hey, what am I going to do tonight? You look on the event schedule and you're out in the real world at altvr.com and you're looking at what's going on tonight. You see you've got an event coming up called Go Time, and you heard good things about the host. You heard he's got amazing hair. You heard he's got this shirt you're starting to see everywhere, right? And you're going to go check it out. What you want to do is you want to plug your device in about an hour before the event begins. This way you'll make sure that you're topped off and you're at 100%, right? And then once you get the device on your head, right? The first thing you want to do, as soon as you wear it, as soon as you power on, as soon as you're at the Oculus home screen, the very first thing you want to do, and don't do this now because if you disappear, I'm going to feel it. But that middle button that you have on your headset, if you press and hold that down for about 3 or 4 seconds, you're going to see 3 buttons appear in the air in front of you. And that middle button is the restart button. And when you press that, your device is going to restart. But it's also going to clear out all the temporary files that have been used. Because that's one of the reasons that your headset loses power when it's not in use, is because it's checking for updates to firmware, it's checking for updates to apps. Maybe it has a pen pal on the other side of the world. Maybe it has a whole secret life you don't know anything about. But when you hit the restart button, those temporary files, they get cleared out. Right, and that's going to help the performance of your device. So now you've cleared your mind, you're at 100% power, and you go into Altspace. And when you get into Altspace, you may have realized, like in Altspace, how important body language is in Altspace, right? Like if a moderator comes up to you during an event like this and they start shaking their head like this, right? That means don't do that thing. They don't actually have to say anything to convey that, right? They just walk up to you and they're just going, no, man, don't do that, right? Just like that. Or maybe I'm going over here at the stage and I'm going like, somebody comes up and I start going like this. That means get off my stage, right? But occasionally what's going to happen is your body language may get thrown off because your real world hand might be right here, but your avatar's hand might be up here. It doesn't match. And when it doesn't match, I can do something like wave my hand to get off the stage, but all you guys are going to see is my hand going up like this, going to look like, hey, everybody, welcome to Go Time. And I'm not saying that. I'm saying get off my stage. It's a very dangerous place. You got to be trained professionals to step up here, right? So, the way you can fix this is if you look straight ahead, right? And don't do this part now, right? Because if you disappear, I'm going to feel it. But on your controller, you have your trackpad, you have a button below that, and you have a button below that. That bottom button, if you were to press that one time, you're going to get taken to your Oculus main menu. This is kind of like an eject button. And when you press this, you're going to be given a choice to quit or resume. That resume button is great if you press it by accident because that'll bring you right back into Altspace. But if you're having this issue where your hand doesn't match up where it is in the real world, if you look straight ahead, right, and you hold your hand out at your side, and this you can do now, and you press and hold that bottom button on your controller for about 3 seconds, you're going to see a white circle spin in the air, and your hand will snap into place, right? And when it snaps into place, take a good look at your hand and ask yourself, is this where my hand is in the real world? If it is, you're good. If not, try it again until you're comfortable. Only you can determine what's comfortable for you. And you're going to find this is going to make your body language a lot more convincing. And that's going to actually affect your relationships in Altspace, because when you can convey a lot with the body language, it enables you to communicate better with people in a kind of a nonverbal way. It's part of the real world that kind of translates very well into VR. Now, also, you're going to notice that occasionally in Altspace that your main menu buttons over here on the left-hand side of your screen when you look down, right? And your space buttons occasionally have like raise hand, you have host tools, sometimes you have world editor. Those space buttons there, occasionally you can notice they move around a little bit. And they may not be in a place that's easy to reach them. Like they move behind you and now you suddenly can't reach them because you don't want to go really can't bend their elbow, right? So we're like looking around for the menu and we don't see where it went, right? Well, it's important to remember that your main menu is always in your hand at all times on an Oculus Go. Next, you have the trackpad right up where your thumb is, and just below that is a button. That button just below that is your main menu button. When you press that, your main menu is going to open up in front of you, and if you press it again, your menu will close. But it has an added benefit. If you're looking straight ahead when you do this, your main menu opens up in front of you, and you press it again, and it closes. But when it closes, you're going to find that your main menu wheel right there and your space buttons are going to be on either side of you with your avatar in the middle. When these get thrown off, it can make you feel a little bit off balance. So if that happens to you, just look straight ahead and open and close your menu by using your controller, and that'll clear that right up. All right, now also you're going to notice that occasionally, the best piece of advice I ever got when I started out and my battery wasn't lasting very long, somebody told me to turn my brightness down. I didn't want to do it because I want to have the best graphic experience I possibly could have in Altspace. And to me, that meant having my brightness turned way up high. Right, right in the burning levels to the point where it was kind of painful. And but my graphics were awesome, or so I thought. So every time I came into Altspace, what I did was I would go to the Oculus main menu, and on the right side where it says settings, right, I'd press that, and then right in the middle there, they'd have a category for brightness, and there'd be this big blue bar. And every time I came into Altspace, I turned down that blue bar just a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more, until finally there was no more blue. My brightness was completely off. Didn't set it to auto, it was just completely turned off. And I came into Altspace, and I couldn't believe what I saw. I went into an event where I learned how to moderate, and there's this tree there. And I go up to this tree, and I looked up at it, and I couldn't believe how real it looked. Like it was more realistic than I'd ever seen it before, right? So if you turn your brightness all the way off, what you're going to experience is better graphics, better performance, and most importantly, your battery's going to last longer. I started making it through entire events. And as I started to last longer in the Altspace events, I learned that after events, people actually hang out, right? Then I had a whole new problem, right, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit, which was overheating. I'm going to teach you how to manage that. All right. Now, another problem that you're going to have on the go, and this is where Go users get kind of a bad reputation. All right. This is what happens is our microphones are extremely sensitive, right? So the sounds come out of the straps and they get in through the microphone and they get projected out into Altspace. Except there's one problem. In Altspace, we can't hear the sounds we're making. Like right now, I don't know what I actually sound like unless I see like a video or something like that. Like we record these for YouTube now. But before we started doing that, I had no idea what I sounded like in Altspace. Really wish they'd come out with something like a sound meter or something like that. But you have no idea how you sound. And so like, let's say, you're a new user and you go into the campfire on your Go, you're very excited, you're new to VR, you're walking around, you're like, this is great, I feel like I'm really here. And you look over and you see a group of people are talking and you walk over to see what they're talking about, right? And they're standing there. And before you say a word, right, they're sitting there talking, hey, what's up, how you been, what's going on, how's your day, right? And all of a sudden they turn and they face you. Right? And I remember you haven't said a word. They turn and they look right at you and they go, and they come up to you and they go, are you on a Go? Are you on a Go? That could be like really off-putting. But it turns out what they're experiencing is pretty off-putting too. What's happening to them is they're standing here talking to friends, hey, how was your day? Nice to see you. And all of a sudden they hear a voice. And they turn around, right? And the voice that they're hearing is their own voice. Like, I knew that was familiar, but that's not me. That's you. Right? So basically the sound that they're making is coming out of your avatar as it was a couple seconds in the past because there's a sound delay. And this can make it really difficult to concentrate when you're talking to somebody. So addressing this problem is actually you're going to find people are nice to you right away when you will actually solve this. And it's pretty easy to solve actually. All you have to do is you're going to notice on top of your headset, you have two buttons on the left-hand side. The leftmost button is the volume down button, and just next to that is the volume up button. And whenever you press either of these, you'll see these vertical bars appear in the air in front of you. Some will be solid, some will be clear. What you're going for is you're going to want to have 4 clear bars on the right side. So basically, you'll be 4 tick marks away from the maximum volume, right? This is going to set the volume at such a level that it won't be as easily picked up as the microphone, and you won't be getting that echo effect, the feedback effect. However, it comes at a trade-off. Occasionally, you're going to have to struggle to hear people, and you're going to be like, what? What did you say? What? Right? And, when you ask them to repeat themselves, what you do is remember something. You still have one good hand in the real world, right? Use it, right? You take that left hand and you put it, try this now. If you cup your left hand up to your ear, like that, you cup your left hand up to your left ear, you're going to notice the volume of my voice goes up, right? So this is going to enable you to hear better when you can't. But one great fix for this is to attach headphones to your headset. In doing this, you're going to ensure the only sound that comes out of your avatar is your own. You can even use a pair of inexpensive earbuds. In my case, my wife went to the library to get an audiobook, and they gave her a pair of free earbuds, and she brought them home. She showed me, and unfortunately, they disappeared. But good news, they reappeared a short time later, attached to my device. They remain there to this day, right? So, yeah, you can't go wrong with that. You're going to make sure the only sound coming out of your avatar is yours. And after that, nobody heard any background noise of me, and as soon as I did that with the earbuds, occasionally you can still hear my wife saying, hey, are you still on that thing? But, we fixed that too. We got her own headset. Now she's in VR with us. Turns out she's a very talented world builder. Check out Lake Ravenhall if you haven't seen it. And, she turns out she's a great moderator too. She helps us out a lot, so we're lucky to have her there. Now, this got me thinking though, what else could I add to my device would actually increase its performance, make it perform better in Altspace? And I came up with what I call a Go Plus experience. And I call it this because when I would go into a performant heavy world, right, that was, very demanding on the device, I'd see other Go users disappear into the floor, or they disappear entirely as they crash, right? And, when they did that, I would, I'd be left standing there, right? And then my screen might flicker a little bit, but I was able to stay places that other Go users couldn't, all right? And the reason I could was because I did the things I'm about to talk about. But before I do, I just want to mention that to discuss this, we're going to be talking about these products here. But I'd like to tell everybody that these are not the only products that work. It's the ideas behind these products that work. So if you find something that works better, maybe you could find something cheaper, come and tell us about it. I love hearing different approaches that people take, or even if you try one of these solutions, come let us know how it worked out. I love hearing stuff too, So yeah, now the temptation is going to be to write these down, but don't worry about it. We made it super easy to get to this information. What you want to do is you want to check out any of these products, because if you go to altvr.com when you're back out in the real world, you log in and you'll see on the upper left where it says events, right next to that's the word channels. And if you press on the word channels, you're going to see on the second page, all the way at the end, all the way on the bottom, you're going to see Ravenhall events, like it says up in the sound booth right there, right? And if you click on that, you get taken to our event page. And on our event page, there's some useful information. Like you can join our Discord if you want to help us help us put on events like this. There's all these products that are behind me that we're about to discuss. You're going to see that listed on the left-hand side. And then in the upper right, the most important button of all, because listen, we don't get paid to do this, right? But if you press that subscribe button that's there, that lets Altspace know you appreciate our content, and every time that number goes up, we feel good, and it encourages us to keep on going. All right, now these products here, you have the Anker Power Core battery pack. Now I figured this would solve my power issue, because Oculus tells you that you shouldn't use your headset while it's plugged in directly, but you can use an external battery. So I figured this was a great place to start, right? So, I found this battery. It's supposed to last 16 hours. I figured that'd be much more than I ever needed, because, 16 hours in VR, I like food, I like water, and I like sleep. So I didn't think I'd ever need that much, right? So I got this. And when I ordered it, I also ordered this MagSafe cable, because I started to hear people were having problems charging their Go's. And I don't know if you ever noticed this, but when you plug in your Go, the wire's kind of tight. And I thought over time that would loosen, as it would get loose, more used, that it wouldn't make a proper connection and it wouldn't charge as effectively. So what I did was I got this MagSafe cable. What happens is you put one tip into your device, right? And then you put the USB cable into your battery pack there, and it's held in place by a magnet. And it turns out this is a great advantage in terms of safety. So when you turn your head, if that wire pulls, your headset's not going to shift to the side. The wire's just going to pop off, right? Because it's just held in place by a magnet. And then you don't even have to come out of VR to fix it. You can just pick it up in your hand, hold it next to your headset, and when it'll thunk into place. And when it does, if your microphone is open and you're in Altspace at the time, people are going to hear it. They're going to go, "What was that?" And you go, "That's power. That's what that was. That was pure power." You don't have to say that. It's not required. It's just something I used to like to do, make people laugh. And I enjoy doing it. So feel free to carry on that proud tradition. But yeah, so this solved my power issue doing this. But what I started to experience at this point was overheating. Now, the faceplate on the Oculus Go is installed by hand, and as such, people get different results with it. For me, I overheated once every half hour. Right? I knew people that have overheated every 2 minutes. Some lucky few never overheat at all. Right? During the first go time, we heard from a guy who his headset had actually melted. Right? Like the side of it actually got pushed in. All right, from the temperature extremes. And this made me really nervous. I knew this was something I had to fix. And I had heard some people were actually putting ice packs on their faceplate to cool it down. And listen, I think this is a bad idea because, condensation, water, electricity on your face, probably not a good combination. And for what this person's now, they went through 2 headsets, all right, during this time. So I believe that the damage came from there. However, so I wanted to go another way. And the way I went was this USB mini fan here. It's by a company called AC Infinity. And it's a mini fan, right? So it's very small. It fits in the palm of your hand and it's whisper quiet, right? And the day mine arrived, I was set to moderate an event, the meditation event in Altspace. And there's a very elaborate world there. It's like on top of a hill. There's like fog with sunlight coming down. There's smoke coming up out of all these bowls. And every single time I went to help out, I'd overheat about 20 minutes into the experience. It was 20 minutes every single time, right? So I figured this would be a great place to test it. So on the day my fan arrived, I had to figure out how to attach it to my headset. Some people use string. What I used was my wife had these 2 hair bands, so I used that to wrap them around my straps. And the other side, I wrapped around these round rubber feet here, right? So to make sure that the silver part was facing the faceplate, and I had all these wires coming down from my head. So much for a mobile experience, right? And, if you ever seen Star Trek, the Borg, I felt like a Borg because I had all these wires coming down. And I went into the meditation event and I walked up to the host, Jeremy, really nice guy. And I said, "Can you hear my fan?" And he says, "No." He says, "Not at all." I said, "That's great news." So I turned it up to a medium level, right? And I said, "How about now?" And he goes, "A little, not that bad though." I said, "All right." And I turned up the full blast. And before I could ask, he says, "Well, I can definitely hear that." Right? So it sounds like you're in a wind tunnel. And I said, "Okay, well, let's see how far this can go." I turned it down to the lowest setting and I never had to turn it up again. Right? So what happened was I went, through the event, 20 minutes came and went. And after 20 minutes, I kept on going. I finished the whole event without overheating and I wanted to see where the line was. So I went to another event right after and didn't overheat at all. Then I went to another event, 3 events in a row. I didn't overheat once. Then I went to my home space and in my home space, I hung out with my friends for a little bit. And then for the very first time, I left Altspace by choice because I wanted to. I left because I was tired, not because I ran out of power. Not because I was overheating. I left because I actually exited the program on purpose. All right. And that never happened before. And while that was the first time, it wouldn't be the last. Because after that, I started to, moderate all kinds of events. I started to host all kinds of events. And my device became super reliable. So I was kind of like all over Altspace and I was doing a lot of stuff in and around the community. And so, yeah, I can't recommend doing this stuff enough. It really does help, and by all means, check that out. Now, that doesn't mean there wasn't still problems, all right? And these are more annoyances than problems, and these can be managed. The first one I'm going to talk about is a movement issue. Like, let's say I'm standing in a campfire, I'm hanging out, right? And I go to turn to Ray Schobert here, say something, right? So I go to turn right to say something to him, but instead of turning right, I go straight. And I think, hey, that was weird. So I go to turn left to say something to Frank over here, and instead of turning left, I go straight again. And I think, well, that was strange. So I start banging on the buttons on my controller. First, I try going backwards, but I go straight. I just start banging on the controller, and I keep moving straight no matter what happens. And the next thing you know, I'm standing inside of an admin. All right? There's nothing more frightening than standing inside of an admin. I saw things. I saw the past. I saw the future. I saw things I can't even talk about. What I can talk about is how to manage this that should happen to you. All right. What you want to do is you got to realize that your trackpad is sensitive, just like your microphone. It's sensitive, to moisture, it's sensitive to heat, and of course touch because it's a touchpad, right? What you want to do is you want to interrupt this touch, and the way you do this is if you take your thumb and you swipe it very gently across the trackpad without pushing down. Just very gently swipe your thumb from one side to the other. It could be right to left, left to right, whatever you prefer. When you get to the other side, lift your thumb into the air, cross over to the other side, come down again, and gently swipe over it. You do this 2-3 times, so you go swipe, 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 and then come down in a direction that you want to move, and you're going to find that you're moving in the direction that you want to, all right? So that'll solve that. The other problem you're going to have occasionally is when you're going to put your headset on and you're going to see a message that says can't find a controller, all right? And now you put a fresh battery in it last night, because that could happen. If your battery is low in your controller or your battery's about to run out, your headset won't be able to find it. Right? Maybe your controller's, maybe your controller's found out about your headset's secret life, that pen pal on the other side of the world I talked at the beginning, and it's not too happy about it, and they're no longer speaking, right? All you have to do is remember 2 words: double down, all right? And what I mean by this is if you take your controller, all right, you don't even have to take your headset off to do this. If you take your controller, the 2 bottom buttons, you press and hold those 2 buttons down for about 4 seconds, you're going to see a little white light appear on the trackpad at the very top of it. Now, if you're wearing a headset, you're not going to see this white light. But what you will see is as soon as you lift your thumb up after a few seconds, you're going to have your controller back. And you're going to step right in the load screen. You're going to be like, man, I am so glad I went to Go Time. That Michael Forrest, he knew what he was talking about. He told me to double down. I remembered it. Now I get to be on time for my event. I get to be in time, for, hosting, moderating, maybe have a hot date, no judgments. I heard that can happen, in here. So yeah, that'll take care of that. Now, another thing that can happen is occasionally you have to remember something. Everything in this room is in your headset, right? These curtains up here, this display, the cars going by outside, all the avatars in here, these fans spinning around. That's all in your headset right now. And after this event, when you go back to your campfire, you're not thinking about go time anymore, but your headset still is, right? And when that memory fills up, and Altspace has made a lot of improvements to make things more performant, so it doesn't happen as often. But when your headset fills up, you're going to occasionally notice the screen's going to go dark, all right? And when that happens, people will still be able to hear you. So all you have to say is, I can't see. Just quit, you restart, come back in, and it'll fix everything. Now, this is kind of annoying, but the way to deal with this is to get ahead of it before it happens. So when this event's over, you turn to your friend and say, hey, what do you want to do now? And your friend says, oh, well, let's go to the campfire. Well, all you have to say is, okay, cool, I'll catch up in just a minute. That's all you need to do. And then you press that bottom button on your controller, right? And you'll exit, when it comes up, it says quit or resume, you press quit, and then you restart the app going from there. And you come back in, and then you hit go to on your friend. Next thing you know, you're in the campfire, and the process only takes less than a minute, right? But now your conversation's not going to get interrupted by your screen going dark because you chose when it happened. You got ahead of it before it happened. All right, now let's see. We have also some tips for building worlds in Altspace if you are a world builder, but we're running a little bit over on time. Does anybody want to hear that? I can keep going if you want to hear that. Otherwise we'll jump right to the questions. Let me see some emojis going on, some hand raises. You want to hear these building tips? All right, I'm not seeing any emojis, so that means we'll skip over it. And at the end, if you want to hear more about world building, just let me know and we'll go over it then. Okay? In the meantime, we are going to be taking your questions, and the way we're going to do this is we're going to open up the floor for questions, and you're going to see a raise hand button appear as if by magic on your little right-hand side there. And if you have any questions or comments or anything like that, just press the raise hand button on your lower right, and I'll see your name appear on the list, and I'll call on you. I get to feel like a radio host. While we're waiting for that to fill up, if you guys are on Twitter and you want to follow us, you can find us at _ Uncanny Valley. I know it looks like 1 underscore, but it's actually 2. And let's see, we already got some people in here, so let's take your questions. We've got Frank. Frank, what's going on? You're on the air. Frank, where are you?
Hey, can you hear me?
Here, Frank, what's going on?
Yep. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Nice and clear.
Oh,
yes,
great.
Very clear.
Fantastic. Yeah, I just want to ask you, Gwen, you had mentioned that if you're wearing the headset, you should not have your wire connected to the power.
Well, some do. It's a personal risk kind of a thing. They say in the instructions that, it doesn't cover, the warranty doesn't cover it. Oculus suggests you don't do this. The primary reason is because, you're connected directly to an outlet and there's a battery on it and it's on your face, right?
Okay.
If it's an external battery, the voltage is going to be much lower if anything goes wrong. There are people who do it, but ultimately it's your choice whether or not you want to attempt that. But honestly, getting one of the external battery packs with a USB connection, it's just as good as plugging it in. If not better.
Understood.
Just if you do use the external battery option, make sure you start out at 100% because when your headset battery is between, I think it's 87% and 100%, somewhere around there. No, it's 84%, I think. It'll be in what's called a trickle charge. Right? So it'll be less demand on the battery and it'll be less overheating because it won't be fighting so hard to charge. So that's just a good thing to know. All right, so let's see, who else do we have here? We have, all right, that was Frank, got you. We've got Hunter. Hunter, do you have a question? Cool name. Where are you, Hunter? I don't see you.
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
so my question is, how do you connect the headphones onto here, on your Oculus?
You're gonna notice on the side, there's a port for a wire, like a microphone jack, or in this case, a headphone jack, and you plug the headphones directly into it. It would be cool if they had some kind of Bluetooth headphones going. I know that the Go and the Quest both support some Bluetooth devices, but apparently the headphones are not yet one of them, fortunately. Yeah.
Well,
but yeah, you just plug it in right
have, but I have Bluetooth headphones. Well, so what type of Bluetooth things can I connect to here?
They did, under experimental features, they have it so that you can use a keyboard now, apparently, in VR. I don't know anyone that's gotten that to work, but it is something that's coming. But right now the Bluetooth support, while there, is not really fully implemented yet. So for now, the way you're going to attach your headphones or your earbuds is you're going to actually get one that has a wire and actually plug that into the side of your headset. Yeah, right now that's the best way. All right.
Okay,
So,
because I
thank
was
you,
just
Hunter.
asking, because I just got some new headphones.
Cool. Yeah, it'd be cool if you can use those. But at this point, I haven't heard of anyone that's managed to do it yet. So, thank you for that, Hunter. And let's see. We also have Mama D. Mama D, you have a question? Comment? Where are you? There you are. What's going on?
Hey, do you have to have the headphones with the microphone in order to use the headphone jack and the microphone? Or does the
More
microphone
often,
work?
the microphone is going to still be the microphone in your headset. And if you have earbuds that have a microphone on it, to the best of my knowledge, that microphone won't work. I mean, I guess it would depend on the brand or the type that you have. But for the most part, it's
Okay.
just going to be the earbuds part that work. So you can save some
So
money
the
there.
microphone, so the microphone will still work.
Yes, the microphone in the headset will still work, but the microphone
Okay.
it's like, say you have a pair of earbuds that have a microphone built into the wire, right? The sound source that the microphone's picking up won't be the one from the wire; it'll be the one that's in your Go, right? So that
Okay.
that functionality won't cross over there. All right, so let's
Okay.
see who else do we have. Thanks for that. We have also we have Stardell. All right, let me see if I can it disappeared. There you are, Stardell. Stardell, you're on the air. Where are you? There you are. How's it going, Stardell?
Good. How are you doing?
We're good. Yeah,
Good.
that sounds good.
You
What's going on
said
with you?
something about dimming the goggles. How do you dim the brightness?
All right, when you first put your headset on, all right, the environment that you start out in is the main Oculus menu. And there's going to be this ribbon on the bottom where a bunch of things you can choose. There's like navigate, there's things like that. You're going to see one that says settings. When you press on settings, you're going to notice somewhere toward the middle of that window that comes up on the bottom, you're going to see the word brightness. And if you press on brightness, you're going to see a big blue bar open up in the air in front of you. You want to knock that back all the way to 0, and anything that says auto adjust, you want to make sure that's turned off. Right? You want to manually set the brightness down to 0. With the brightness completely off, your performance will increase, your graphics will get better, and your battery is going to last longer. So it's going to decrease the performance demand on your device, and it makes Altspace. I can't speak for other apps, but it makes Altspace a much more pleasant experience. Like graphically, it's just better. It's like the best thing to do. So I would recommend definitely doing that. Let's see. We also
Awesome.
have time
Thanks
for
for that.
one more question. No, you're very welcome, Startup. Let's see. We have time for one more question. We've got Braden. What's up, Braden? You're on the air. Where are you, Braden? Hey, Braden. I recognize you. You've been here before. What's going on?
Yeah, after school, I like to attend these events, and I walked in, and you're talking about
Cool.
USB cable for the thing, and I was wondering how
Yeah.
much that is, because I have a big family, and I don't want them to trip over my cable and ruin the
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's
USB.
actually good use for it because it will help with that. Right now, I forgot to mention the prices. Let's go back over here. What you have here is the USB mini fan. This is only about $10 US, something like that. The MagSafe cable in the middle there is about $7 US. The most expensive thing up here is the battery pack, and that's about $50-$60 US. But it turns out that you can get different sizes battery packs, different brands. Like I said, these products aren't the only products that work. They're just the products that I personally use, feel comfortable recommending. If you try something different, come and tell us about it. I love hearing success stories, stuff like that. All right. Normally at the end of our events, we take everybody flying. So if you've never flown in Altspace before, you're welcome to join us. But before we head out, if you've learned something here today, right? Like say you're in a campfire and you hear, my headset's on fire. It's overheating all the time. What do I do? Right? Well, you tell them about Go Time. You tell them about our event page. Don't forget to tell them to press the subscribe button. And you tell them, where they can find that list of products and where they can find the fan. Because by sharing that information, by helping each other, that's how we keep this Altspace thing going, right? All right, so we're going to head out now, and I want to really thank you for joining us today. You've been a great audience. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to head on out the back here. We're going to go out that back door into that blue ring, into the load screen. We'll come out the other side at the Ravenhill Flight Academy. And if you have any more questions, we're happy to take them there. All right, I'll see you there.